أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله أما بعد فأعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين.
After reciting the Tashahhud, Ta'awudh and Surah Al-Fatiha, Hazrat Khalifatul Masih the Fifth, may Allah be his helper, said, a few Fridays ago, I started discussing the conquest of Mecca. Today, I will mention some further details in this regard. In relation to the cause of this expedition, it is stated that the immediate cause of this expedition was the Quraysh breaking their oath that was made at Hudaybiyah. They very haughtily said to the messenger of the Holy Prophet, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, that we break our oath and declare war against the Holy Prophet, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him. When the Holy Prophet, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, came to know of this, he set out towards Mecca. The details of their breaking their oath are as follows. When the Treaty of Hudaybiyah was made, one of the conditions was that any of the Arab tribes was allowed to enter a pact with either the Holy Prophet, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, or with the Quraysh. Subsequently, from among the Banu Bakr and the Banu Khuza'a, who resided around the Haram, that is the sacred sanctuary in Mecca, the Banu Khuza'a entered a pact with the Holy Prophet, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, whereas their rival tribe, the Banu Bakr, entered a pact with the Quraysh. As such, both tribes kept themselves from fighting one another. During the age of ignorance, the Banu Khuza'a and the Banu Bakr fought. During this, the Banu Bakr killed an individual from the Banu Khuza'a, and the Banu Khuza'a killed 3 men from the Banu Bakr within the boundaries of the Haram. The Banu Bakr and the Banu Khuza'a were in this state, that is, fighting each other, at the time of the advent of the Holy Prophet, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him. When he claimed prophethood, people turned their attention towards Islam. A new thing appeared before them, and they started talking about it and refrained from attacking each other. However, their anger and rage remained hidden in their hearts. In Sha'ban, in the 8th year after migration, after 20 months had passed since the Treaty of Hudaybiyah, an individual from the Banu Bakr recited Hajv, i.e. insulting couplets about the Holy Prophet, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him. An individual from the Banu Khuza'a heard him recite these couplets and attacked him and split his head open. Due to this incident, a fight broke out between the two tribes, which had been opposed to one another before. They had only stopped fighting temporarily. The individual from the Banu Bakr who recited the insulting couplets belonged to the family of Banu Nafatha. When the young man from the Banu Khuza'a wounded this poet, the Banu Nafatha from among the Banu Bakr made a request to the Quraysh to receive aid in the form of men and weapons against the Banu Khuza'a. The Quraysh agreed to aid them, except Abu Sufyan. He was neither consulted nor did he know about this. According to one narration, he was consulted, but he refused to fight. However, despite this, the Quraysh aided them in the form of weapons, horses, and men. All of them attacked them in secret so that the Banu Khuza'a could not defend themselves. The Banu Khuza'a considered themselves to be safe due to the pact and were thus negligent of the attack. The Quraysh, the Banu Bakr, and the Banu Nafatha agreed to meet in Watir. This was a lowland area towards the southwest of Mecca, at a distance of 16 kilometers from the boundaries of the Haram. The homes of the Banu Khuza'a were in this very area. These opponents met there at the appointed time. The leaders of the Quraysh had disguised themselves by wearing coverings over their faces. These included Safwan bin Umayyah, Ikrimah bin Abi Jahl, Huwaytib bin Abdul Uzza, Shayba bin Uthman, and Mikraz bin Hafs. Along with all of them were their servants, as well as the leader of the Banu Bakr, Nawfal bin Muawiyah. The Banu Khuza'a, feeling secure and unaware, were asleep at night. Most of them were children, women, and the weak. The Quraysh and Banu Nafatha launched an attack on them and began killing people. Some of them fled and managed to reach the boundaries of the sacred sanctuary, that is the Haram. The Banu Khuza'a pleaded with the leader of the Banu Bakr, Nawfal bin Muawiyah, saying, "O Nawfal, we have now entered the sacred sanctuary. We beg you in the name of your God." But Nawfal, full of arrogance, replied, "Today there is no God," and continued the killing even within the sacred sanctuary. On that day, Banu Bakr killed 20 men from the Banu Khuza'a. Later, however, the Quraysh felt regret and concern over this action. They realized that by this deed they had broken the treaty that existed between them and the Holy Prophet, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him. Suhail bin Amr said to Nawfal, "You know well what you and your companions have done, how you massacred these people, and even wanted to finish off the rest. But we will not support you in this. Let them go." So Nawfal let them go and they departed. Harith bin Hisham and Abdullah bin Abi Rabi'ah together went to Safwan bin Umayyah, Suhail bin Amr, and Ikrimah bin Abi Jahl, and strongly rebuked them for supporting Banu Bakr against the Banu Khuza'a, saying, "What have you done? You had a treaty in place. What you've done amounts to breaking the agreement between us and Muhammad, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him." Then Harith bin Hisham went to Abu Sufyan and informed him of what the people had done. Upon hearing this, Abu Sufyan said, "This is an incident in which I was neither a participant nor completely uninvolved. But it is a very grievous matter. By God, Muhammad, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, will now most certainly wage war against us." Abu Sufyan further added, "My wife Hind told me that she saw a dreadful dream. She saw a river of blood flowing from the direction of Hujun, a mountain about a mile from the Kaaba towards the valley of Muhassab, and this stream of blood reached Khandama, a well-known mountain on the way to Mina. The people disliked this vision and were terrified, i.e., of the river of blood that kept flowing. In any case, Allah the Almighty informed the Holy Prophet, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, of the attack on Banu Khuza'a through a vision. al-Mu'mineen Hazrat Maymuna bint Harith, may Allah be pleased with her, narrates that the Holy Prophet, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, spent the night with her. He rose to perform ablution for prayer, and while he was at the place of ablution, she heard him say 3 times, "Labbaik, Labbaik, Labbaik," I'm present, I'm present, I'm present. Then 3 times he said, Nusirta, Nusirta, Nusirta. You have been helped, you have been helped, you have been helped. When the Holy Prophet, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, returned after performing ablution, she said to him, O Messenger of Allah, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, I heard you say Labbaik 3 times and then Nusirta 3 times. Was someone speaking to you? He was speaking. He replied, it was a man from the Banu Ka'b, a branch of Banu Khuza'a, who was reciting religious poetry against Banu Bakr, calling upon me for help. It was in a visionary state. He was saying that the Quraysh had supported Banu Bakr bin Wa'il against them. Hazrat Maimuna, may Allah be pleased with her, narrates that 3 days later the Holy Prophet, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, led the people in the morning prayer, and she heard someone reciting the following couplets. O my Lord, I call upon Muhammad, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, to remind him of the pact made by our forefathers and his noble ancestors. According to another narration, on the morning following the night when the incident between the Banu Nafatha and the Banu Khuza'a took place at a place called Watir, the Holy Prophet, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, said to Hazrat Aisha, may Allah be pleased with her, O Aisha, there was an incident in Khuza'a. Hazrat Aisha said, O Messenger of Allah, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, would the Quraysh dare to break the treaty between you and them, even though the wars have already ruined them? The Holy Prophet, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, said, they have broken the treaty for something that has been intended by Allah the Almighty. Hazrat Aisha, may Allah be pleased with her, said, O Messenger of Allah, is there a benefit to this? The Holy Prophet, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, said, yes, there is a benefit to this. In other words, it was in accordance with the will of God that they would break the treaty and then go on to be punished for it. Hazrat Muslim Maud, may Allah be pleased with him, has also mentioned this same incident in his own way. He writes, Hazrat Maimuna, may Allah be pleased with her, says, one night, it was my turn, and the Holy Prophet, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, was sleeping next to me. He awoke for tahajjud, that is the pre-dawn voluntary prayers, and as he was performing the ablution, I heard him saying, I am here, I am here, I am here. Then he said, you have been helped, you have been helped, you have been helped. She says, when he came back out, I said, O Messenger of Allah, was there someone you were speaking to? The Holy Prophet, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, said, yes, in a vision, a group from the Khuza'a tribe was before me, and they were loudly proclaiming, we say to Muhammad, swearing by his God, that we made oaths with you and your forefathers, and we have always helped you. But the Quraysh have broken their treaty with us and attacked us at night when some of us were in prostration, while others were bowing, and killed us. Now we have come to you seeking your help. The Holy Prophet, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, said, I saw a man from the Khuza'a standing before me. When I saw that man in the vision, I said, I am here, I am here, I am here 3 times, meaning, I am here to help you. Then I also said, you have been helped, you have been helped, you have been helped 3 times, meaning that they would be given help. Then Hazrat Aisha, may Allah be pleased with her, says, that same morning, the Holy Prophet, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, came to my home and said, a tragic incident has taken place with the Khuza'a. Hazrat Aisha, may Allah be pleased with her, says, I understood that a tragic incident with the Khuza'a could only mean that the being on the border of Makkah and the Makkans who have a pact with the Banu Bakr attacked the Banu Khuza'a. I said, O Messenger of Allah, is it possible that after making so many oaths, the Quraysh would break the treaty and attack the Khuza'a? The Holy Prophet, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, said, yes, they are breaking this treaty in accordance with the wisdom of Allah the Almighty. The wisdom was that the Holy Prophet, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, did not have permission to wage an attack, but with the treaty broken, he now had that permission. As Aisha, may Allah be pleased with her, says, I said, O Messenger of Allah, will this bear positive results? The Holy Prophet, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, said, yes, the outcome will be positive. Detailing this, it is written that after this injustice carried out by the Banu Bakr and the Quraysh, Amr bin Salim, along with 40 riders from the Banu Khuza'ah, set out to seek assistance from the Holy Prophet, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him. The chief of the Khuza'ah tribe, Budayl bin Waraka Khuza'i, was also part of this group. He explained the details to the Holy Prophet, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, saying that they were made to face difficulty, and how the Quraysh helped the Banu Bakr against them with weapons, men and horses, and how Safwan, Ikrimah, and other chieftains of the Quraysh participated in this killing spree. At the time, the Holy Prophet, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, was in the mosque along with his companions. When he had said what he wanted to, Amr bin Salim, a chief of the Khuza'ah, stood and recited some couplets to seek help. One of those couplets was, O my Lord, I remind Muhammad of the treaty which our forefathers and his forefathers made. The Holy Prophet, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, said, Amr bin Salim, you will be helped. Hazrat Abdullah bin Umar, may Allah be pleased with him, narrates that when the caravan from Khuza'ah reached the Holy Prophet, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, he asked them, who do you think committed this injustice? They said, the Banu Bakr. The Holy Prophet, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, said, all of Banu Bakr? They said, no. The Banu Nafatha, whose chief is Nawfal bin Muawiyah. The Holy Prophet, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, said, this is a tribe of the Banu Bakr. Hence, after the Banu Khuza'ah had told the Holy Prophet everything that had happened, the Holy Prophet, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, said, go back separately. As they were about to return, they should not go together as a group, but they should go back separately. The Holy Prophet, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, said this so that no one would come to know that they were returning after meeting with him. He kept this matter hidden. Hence, the Banu Khuza'ah returned separately. Some of them took the route along the seashore, while Budayl bin Waraka and some others took the common route. Hazrat Aisha, may Allah be pleased with her, states, due to the matter of the Banu Ka'b, in other words, Khuza'ah, the Holy Prophet, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, was greatly angered. I had never seen him that angry. Hazrat Ibn Abbas, may Allah be pleased with him, relates that when the Holy Prophet, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, received news about the incident with the Khuza'ah, he said, I swear by him in whose hands is my life, I will protect them against everything that I protect my family and household from. Hazrat Muslim Maud has detailed this expedition in his own way. He writes, in Ramadan, in the 8th year after migration, the Holy Prophet, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, set out for a final battle which would establish Islam in all of Arabia. This incident transpired as follows. At the time of the Treaty of Hudaybiyah, it was decided that any of the Arab tribes could become allies with either the Makkans or with Muhammad, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, the Messenger of Allah. Also, for 10 years, neither side was permitted to engage in battle against the other, except if one side were to break the treaty and attack the other. Under this treaty, the Arab tribe of Banu Bakr became allies with the Makkans, and the Khuza'ah tribe became allies with Muhammad, peace and blessings of Allah upon him, the Messenger of Allah. The disbelievers of Arabia did not care much about upholding treaties, especially with the Muslims. Hence, because the Banu Bakr had a long-standing feud with the Khuza'ah tribe, sometime after the Treaty of Hudaybiyah, they conferred with the Makkans, saying that on account of the treaty, the Banu Khuza'ah was at ease and now was the opportunity to exact revenge. Hence, the Quraysh of Makkah and the Banu Bakr joined forces and launched a surprise attack at night against the Banu Khuza'ah, killing many of their men. When the Khuza'ah learnt that the Quraysh had joined forces with the Banu Bakr to wage this attack, they sent 40 of their men on fast camels to Medina in order to inform the Holy Prophet, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, and implore him that based on the mutual pact, it was incumbent upon him to retaliate for them and attack Makkah. When this delegation reached the Holy Prophet, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, he said, "Your pain is my pain. I stand firm on my agreement." He said, "This cloud that rains down before us," it was raining at the time, "just as rain falls from it, the Islamic forces will arrive to your help in the same swift manner." According to one account, the Holy Prophet, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, sent Hazrat Zamra to the Quraysh with a message asking them to choose one of the three options. Either pay blood money for those killed from the Banu Khuza'ah, openly dissociate themselves from the Banu Nufatha, or terminate the Treaty of Hudaybiyah. These were the three options. Hazrat Zamra approached the Quraysh as the messenger of the Holy Prophet, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him. He dismounted his camel near the door of the sacred mosque and entered. The Quraysh were assembled in their respective places. Hazrat Zamra announced himself as the messenger of the Holy Prophet, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, and conveyed the Holy Prophet, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him's message. Qarda bin Abd Amr responded, "If we were to pay the blood money for those killed among the Banu Khuza'ah, we would be left without any grain or livestock, as paying such compensation would require significant resources. As far as disassociating from Banu Nufatha is concerned, there is no tribe among the Arabs that revere the Holy Kaaba as much as they do. They are our allies, and we will not break off this alliance for as long as we can. Yes, as long as some of us remain, we will fight Muhammad, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him." He said, "We will fight him. Therefore, let us terminate the Treaty of Hudaybiyah." Hazrat Zamra returned and informed the Holy Prophet, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, of what had transpired with the Quraysh. Subsequently, the Quraysh regretted their decision and dispatched Abu Sufyan to the Holy Prophet, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him. Allah the Almighty had already informed the Holy Prophet, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, about Abu Sufyan's arrival, and he announced this beforehand to the people. According to the Holy Prophet, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him's prophecy, Abu Sufyan arrived to renew the treaty. The details recorded state that before Abu Sufyan reached Medina, the Holy Prophet, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, informed his companions, "Abu Sufyan is coming to you. He will request the renewal of the treaty and seek its extension, but will return disappointed, as none of his requests will be accepted." According to one narration, Harith bin Hisham and Abdullah bin Abi Rabi'ah went to Abu Sufyan, emphasizing the necessity of reconciling the matter. They warned him that failure to reach a resolution would result in Muhammad, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, attacking them with his companions. Hence, Abu Sufyan, accompanied by his servant on 2 camels, swiftly traveled to Medina. Upon arrival, he first went to his daughter Habiba, who was the noble wife of the Holy Prophet, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him. When Abu Sufyan attempted to sit on the Holy Prophet's bed, Habiba folded it away. He asked, "My daughter, is this bed unworthy of me, or am I unworthy of it?" Hazrat Habiba replied, "This bed belongs to the Messenger of Allah, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, and you are an idolater and impure. I do not want you to sit upon the Holy Prophet's bed." Abu Sufyan remarked, "My daughter, evil has overtaken you since you left me." Habiba responded, "No, rather Allah has guided me to Islam. You, my father, are a chief and leader of the Quraysh. How can you delay embracing Islam?" She was preaching to him, "You worship idols that are incapable of hearing or seeing." Abu Sufyan stood up and proceeded to the Holy Prophet, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, who was in the mosque. He said, "O Muhammad, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, I was not present at the Treaty of Hudaybiyah. Kindly renew our treaty and extend its duration. The Holy Prophet, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, asked Abu Sufyan, is this the sole reason for your visit? He affirmed, yes. The Holy Prophet further inquired, have you done anything that breaches the treaty? Abu Sufyan swore by Allah, claiming they remained loyal to the Treaty of Hudaybiyah. He lied and further claimed not to have altered anything. The Holy Prophet, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, replied, we too remain loyal to our treaty and have made no changes. We have made a pact, so it remains. We haven't made any changes in it. Abu Sufyan repeated his plea, but the Holy Prophet, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, remained silent, offering no further response. Abu Sufyan then approached Hazrat Abu Bakr, may Allah be pleased with him, and requested, speak to Muhammad, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, or announce to the people that you have given me protection. Hazrat Abu Bakr, may Allah be pleased with him, replied, my protection is under the protection of the Messenger of Allah, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him. Abu Sufyan went to Hazrat Umar, may Allah be pleased with him, who gave a similar reply to that of Hazrat Abu Bakr, may Allah be pleased with him. He then approached Hazrat Uthman, may Allah be pleased with him, and said, no one is as kind and considerate toward his kin as you. Renew and extend our treaty. Your companion will not reject your suggestion. Hazrat Uthman, may Allah be pleased with him, replied, my protection is under the Holy Prophet's protection. Failing again, Abu Sufyan approached Hazrat Ali and said, O Ali, you are my closest relative here. I have come for an important matter and do not wish to return empty-handed. Intercede with the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, on my behalf. Hazrat Ali, may Allah be pleased with him, replied, woe to you, Abu Sufyan. Once the Holy Prophet, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, has resolved on a matter, none of us dare to intervene or discuss it with him. None of them had the strength to do so. Abu Sufyan said, O Ali, this matter has overwhelmed me. Give me some advice. Hazrat Ali, may Allah be pleased with him, responded, by Allah, I do not know of anything that could benefit you. However, you are the chief of the Banu Kinana. Stand and make a proclamation of peace amongst the people and return to your city. Abu Sufyan then went to the Holy Prophet's mosque and declared publicly, O people, I declare peace among you. I believe that you will not break my pledge. Approaching the Holy Prophet, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him again, he said, O Muhammad, I have declared peace among the people. The Holy Prophet, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, replied, O Abu Hanzala, this declaration is yours alone. This is a one-sided statement and we have made no such claim. Abu Sufyan then mounted his camel and returned home. Another narration states, Abu Sufyan approached Hazrat Fatima, may Allah be pleased with her, to intercede, but she too excused herself. Thus Abu Sufyan returned unsuccessful in securing any new agreement or reconciliation. Upon his return, when Abu Sufyan informed his people of his failure, they criticized him harshly, lamenting that he had brought no benefit. Hazrat Muslim Maud, may Allah be pleased with him, has, in light of historical facts, narrated this event, stating, the Meccans sent Abu Sufyan to Medina to somehow dissuade the Muslims from launching an attack. In Medina, Abu Sufyan pleaded with the Holy Prophet, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, claiming that since he was absent during the Treaty of Hudaybiyah, it should be renewed. However, the Holy Prophet, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, gave no reply, because speaking would reveal his intention. In desperation, Abu Sufyan stood in the mosque and announced unilaterally, O people, I renew peace for you on behalf of the Meccans. Hearing this, the Muslims laughed at his foolishness, and the Holy Prophet, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, informed him, O Abu Sufyan, this statement is yours alone. We have made no such agreement with you. Our research cell has written a note regarding this, that Abu Sufyan's statement, I was not present at the Treaty of Hudaybiyah, is doubtful according to them. Some others may have stated this, so they have taken up this point. This question is not necessary for the common seeker of knowledge, but those who wish to dive deeply into historical matters might wish to raise this question, that his statement, I was not present, is doubtful. Because while some biographical and historical books state that at that time, meaning his arrival at Medina, Abu Sufyan said, "I was not present at the Treaty of Hudaybiyah." The majority of books are silent on this matter. Some historical books do state that he said he wasn't there, but the majority of the books are silent, and the majority of historians have not mentioned the statement of Abu Sufyan. The third point is as follows. Was Abu Sufyan actually not present at the Treaty of Hudaybiyah? In Kitab al-Maghazi by Waqidi and Sirat al-Halabiyya and a few other sources, it is stated that Abu Sufyan was not present at that time. However, in most other historical biographical works, it is recorded that during the event of Hudaybiyah, the Holy Prophet, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, sent Hazrat Uthman, may Allah be pleased with him, to Mecca so that he could inform Abu Sufyan and the other leaders of the Quraysh that the Muslims had not come to wage war. We understand from this that Abu Sufyan was indeed present at that time. However, it is worth considering that he did not come forward to speak with the Holy Prophet, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, during the Treaty of Hudaybiyah, nor did he personally come to sign the treaty, despite being the chief of the Quraysh. Neither is his name among the signatories or witnesses of the agreement. That is why it is possible that when he later came to Medina and said, "I was not present at the time of the Treaty of Hudaybiyah," what he meant was, "I was not present at the time of the actual signing of the treaty," or perhaps he truly wasn't present at all. Nonetheless, he may have repeated this point when he arrived in Medina, that he did not sign the treaty. In any case, as I mentioned earlier, this is the view of our research cell. However, even as they lay out all this context and explanation, they inadvertently reinforce their own conclusion that Abu Sufyan was not included in the treaty because despite being the leader, his signature is not on it. That's what they themselves have written. So perhaps Abu Sufyan used this as his justification. Thus, there is no need to fall into doubt or suspicion over his statement in Medina that he was not part of the agreement. If he said it rightly. Yes, it is possible that saying he was not included versus not present may be a result of an error on the part of the narrator. But the events themselves tell the true story, that he declared his non-participation in the treaty. This is what seems clear. And Hazrat Muslim Maud, may Allah be pleased with him, also wrote about this, and he accepted, and it seems correct, that Abu Sufyan was not part of this treaty. We understand this to mean that he was not present during the treaty. Nonetheless, this was a historical matter that I have addressed. There is no need for ambiguity or confusion here, neither does any question arise after this. The matter is very clear. Nonetheless, it is written regarding the details of this battle that the Holy Prophet, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, began preparations for the journey with complete secrecy. The Holy Prophet, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, instructed the people to prepare for a journey, but he did not disclose the destination. In the same manner, the Holy Prophet, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, said to Hazrat Aisha, "Prepare provisions for my journey." Having said this, the Holy Prophet, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, left the house. In the meantime, Hazrat Abu Bakr, may Allah be pleased with him, entered the house of his daughter, Hazrat Aisha, may Allah be pleased with her, at a time when she was preparing the provisions of the Holy Prophet, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him. Hazrat Abu Bakr, may Allah be pleased with him, asked, "Has the Messenger of Allah intended to set out for a battle?" Hazrat Aisha remained silent. Then Hazrat Abu Bakr said, "Perhaps he intends to go towards the Romans, or perhaps towards the people of Najd, or perhaps towards the Quraysh. But the term of the treaty with the Quraysh has not yet expired." To each question, Hazrat Aisha remained silent and did not reply. In the meantime, the Holy Prophet, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, returned. Hazrat Abu Bakr submitted, "O Messenger of Allah, do you intend to set out somewhere?" He replied, "Yes." Hazrat Abu Bakr, may Allah be pleased with him, asked, "Do you intend to go towards Banu Asfar, i.e. the Romans?" He said, "No." Hazrat Abu Bakr then asked, "Do you intend to go towards the people of Najd?" He replied, "No." Hazrat Abu Bakr asked, "Then perhaps you intend to go towards the Quraysh?" He replied, "Yes." Upon this, Hazrat Abu Bakr, may Allah be pleased with him, submitted, "Is there not a treaty between you and them?" referring to the Treaty of Hudaybiyah. The Holy Prophet, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, replied, "Do you not know what they have done to Banu Ka'b, i.e. the tribe of Khuza'ah?" Further details of this incident have been recorded in As-Sirah al-Halabiyya, that Hazrat Abu Bakr, may Allah be pleased with him, asked the Holy Prophet, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, "O Messenger of Allah, have you intended to embark on a journey?" He replied, "Yes." Hazrat Abu Bakr submitted, "Then I too shall begin preparations." The Holy Prophet, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, said, "Yes." Hazrat Abu Bakr then inquired, "O Messenger of Allah, where do you intend to go?" He replied, "To confront the Quraysh." But at the same time he added, "O Abu Bakr, keep this matter concealed for now." In short, the Holy Prophet, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, instructed the people to make preparations, but he did not disclose to them where he intended to go. Thereafter, the Holy Prophet, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, sent messages to the Muslims residing in the outlying villages and surrounding regions, instructing them, "Whosoever believes in Allah and the last day should present himself in Medina during the month of Ramadan." In accordance with this announcement of the Holy Prophet, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, various Arab tribes began arriving in Medina. Among the tribes that reached Medina were the Banu Aslam, Banu Ghifar, Banu Muzayna, Banu Ashja, and Banu Juhayna. According to one narration, the Holy Prophet, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, first summoned Hazrat Abu Bakr, may Allah be pleased with him, and consulted with him. Then he summoned Hazrat Umar, may Allah be pleased with him, and consulted with him as well, and thereafter instructed all the Muslims to prepare for the journey. Mentioning this incident, Hazrat Muslim Maud, may Allah be pleased with him, has written as follows: The Holy Prophet, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, said to one of his wives, "Gather together my provisions for a journey." She began to pack the travel provisions. He also instructed Hazrat Aisha, may Allah be pleased with her, "Roast some barley flour or grains for me." Such foods were common in those days. Accordingly, she began to sift the soil and other impurities from the grains and began to clean them. Hazrat Abu Bakr, may Allah be pleased with him, entered the house and came to his daughter. Observing these preparations, he inquired, "Aisha, what is going on? Is the Messenger of Allah, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, preparing for a journey?" She replied, "Indeed, it seems so." The Holy Prophet, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, has instructed that arrangements be made for a journey. Hazrat Abu Bakr inquired, "Is he travelling with the intention of battle?" Hazrat Aisha replied, "We have no idea. The Messenger of Allah has instructed that his travel provisions be prepared, and we are merely complying." Hazrat Aisha said this. As to where he intends to go or for what purpose, we are unaware. A few days later, the Holy Prophet, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, called Hazrat Abu Bakr and Hazrat Umar, may Allah be pleased with them, and said, "You recall how the men of the tribe of Khuza'ah came to us and informed us of certain events?" He then explained, "And Allah had already forewarned me about this and that they would commit treachery. We have a covenant with them, and now it would be contrary to faith if upon seeing the courage and might of the Makkans we become fearful and do not challenge them. We must proceed. What is your opinion on this matter?" Hazrat Abu Bakr, may Allah be pleased with him, submitted, "O Messenger of Allah, you have a treaty with them, and after all, they are your own people." In other words, would the Holy Prophet, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, fight against his own people? The Holy Prophet replied, "We shall not fight our people, but those who have broken the treaty." Then he returned to Hazrat Umar, may Allah be pleased with him, and asked his opinion. Hazrat Umar, who had a certain nature, said, "In the name of Allah, I would pray every day for this day, that we may rise in the defense of the Messenger of Allah against the disbelievers." The Holy Prophet, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, remarked, "Abu Bakr is tender-hearted, but the truth is uttered from the tongue of Umar. Indeed, it is Umar who has spoken rightly. Make preparations." Thereafter, the Holy Prophet, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, sent word to the surrounding tribes, instructing that every person who believed in Allah and His Messenger should gather in Medina in the early days of Ramadan. In order to maintain secrecy regarding this expedition, the Holy Prophet, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, adopted various measures. For instance, prior to the departure, he dispatched a party of 8 men under the leadership of Hazrat Abu Qatada bin Rabi', may Allah be pleased with him, towards Wadi Idham, a direction opposite to Makkah, so that those who speculated might assume that he intended to journey in that direction, thereby preventing any news from spreading. Idham lies approximately 36 miles east of Medina in the region of Najd. In addition to this, the Holy Prophet, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, also sent some men around the surroundings of Medina. Their duty was to turn back any unfamiliar person who might be headed towards Mecca. Hazrat Umar, may Allah be pleased with him, was appointed to supervise this operation and diligently patrolled the area. After all these precautions, the Holy Prophet, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, lifted his hands in supplication before his Lord and prayed. O Allah, seize the ears and eyes of the Quraysh, i.e. their spies and informers, so that they may neither see us nor hear of us, except that we appear suddenly before them, and so that they do not learn anything of us except that which reaches them all of a sudden. Another supplication of his in this regard has also been recorded. O Allah, hold back the spies and the informers of the Quraysh until we appear unexpectedly in their own territory. There are more details in relation to this. God willing, further details will be narrated with regards to the Holy Prophet, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, departing. I would also like to comment on the general condition of the world, which I often do so. Continue to pray as the possibility for widespread war is increasing. Pray that Allah the Almighty protects us from the devastating consequences of such conflict. Israel has launched an attack on Iran, and this current conflict has now entered an extremely dangerous phase. The Israeli government seems determined to inflict harm upon all the Muslim countries, one by one, and the Muslim world remains heedless. They are engrossed in worldly pursuits and personal development, and completely oblivious to what lies ahead. Neither do the Muslims have the right practices, and nor do they focus upon prayers. In such circumstances, they will incur such a loss that they cannot even imagine. May Allah the Almighty grant them wisdom, and they pay heed towards this and seek to establish their unity. It should not be the case that simply due to their sectarian differences, they do not extend help to one another. Every country is in danger because the disbelievers have all united as one, and thus the Muslims also ought to become united as one nation. It is only then that they can survive, and there is no other option besides this. May Allah the Almighty protect all those who are innocent and those being oppressed from significant harm. We have to pay a great deal of attention towards prayers. May Allah the Almighty grant us the ability to do so.
الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونؤمن به ونتوكل عليه ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له ونشهد أن لا إله إلا الله ونشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله عباد الله رحمكم الله إن الله يأمر بالعدل والإحسان وإيتاء ذي القربى وينهى عن الفحشاء والمنكر والبغي يعظكم لعلكم تذكرون اذكروا الله يذكركم وادعوه يستجب لكم ولذكر الله أكبر